It is go time.
Long time no see.
You shouldn't have come.
So only an idiot would think that some of the characters we were just introduced to were really gone for good in Infinity War. So let's find out how the Avengers get him back in Avengers Endgame.
It's gonna be a real tearjerker.
So we start off with Clint Barton and his family, where we see that his house arrest has a lot more space than Scott Lang's.
So who do we talk to about this?
He's training his daughter to shoot, while the rest of them have a picnic. While they discuss their weird eating habits,
What's mayo in a hot dog?
his family disappears.
None of them said anything?
Well, apparently the writers thought that small children, a teenage girl, and a concerned mother were the least likely people to express their concern when they're in danger. But we also know from Infinity War that these people had plenty of time to say something before they disappeared.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
We then go to Tony and Nebula, bored as all hell. But at least we get to see Nebula win for once in her life, even if it isn't paper football.
I win, I bested you in combat.
Tony then leaves a message for Pepper because he always calls her when he's about to die.
Did you say you're dying?
No, I'm not. Not anymore.
But also to dump some information for us.
Today's day 22. Oxygen will run out tomorrow morning.
But as he's about to croak, Captain Marvel shows up to save him.
How'd she find him?
You have finally asked a relevant question.
I have no idea. I mean, after all, space is pretty flirkin' big, and everyone who knew that they were on Titan was on Titan.
It's a 1,000,000,000 to 1 cosmic fluke.
I mean, it's not like they were broken down on the side of the highway and she was just driving past with a tow truck. But she does tow them back to the Avengers facility.
What did it cost?
I think it's incredibly overpriced.
I get in trouble for that. A lot.
Well, how would she know to take them there?
Well, McFlurry paged her, and then for some reason, the Avengers took the time to find out where he and Maria vanished, and then found the 90s pager on the ground, and thought it was worth keeping plugged in. So I'm guessing she just showed up from where the signal was coming from,
Where's Mr. Snoofer?
even though that's not really how pagers work.
I upgraded it.
So when she showed up, they sent her to search all of space, not knowing if anybody was still alive.
This is big.
Well, Tony is super pissed at Steve. Basically because he thinks it's all his fault that Thanos won because the Avengers weren't fighting together. Even though he's the one who went into space to save Doctor Strange, and after he did that, he kept going to Titan to surprise Thanos instead of going back to Earth to fight together.
Hey, hold on. How is this now about me? I'm sorry, isn't everything?
Stop this shit with the Avengers getting together.
So Steve has no idea where Thanos is. So he asked Tony if he told him exactly where he was going after he was done killing everybody. You know, like you do. I mean, that kind of seems like information you would let go after you completed your mission.
Where are you going?
We're going to Disneyland.
But then Nebula chimes in and says that he's farming tomatoes in his garden. And Rocket goes, hey, the stones just got used there 2 days ago. So yeah, it sounds like they really needed a clue from Tony.
I don't need anything from you and I'm done.
So they go there after fixing up the Milano and find Thanos in jeans and a t-shirt making dinner. They attack him and find out that he destroyed the stones, so their plan of using them to snap everybody back is totally shot. So Thor cuts his head off. The end.
That is a horrible story.
What?
Nah, I'm just kidding. But this does mark the first time that one of the big three Avengers finally took out one of the villains. I mean, it's too late, nobody gives a shit, but at least he did it.
We're the Avengers, not the pre-Vengers.
Okay.
So we go 5 years later to San Francisco, where Luis's van is locked up in Scott's storage unit, even though no other car in the world was towed.
It's a disgrace.
Well, a rat just happens to step on a button that returns Scott from the quantum realm. So I'm guessing Hank went all out for a good battery on this van. Well, good enough to hold a charge, but not good enough to actually start the vehicle.
Not exactly a Buick.
Scott walks the streets to find that no one cleans anything anymore, and that a bunch of people have vanished. And some of those people have relatives that are so stupid that they think putting up flyers will bring their loved ones back to life.
Didn't print enough pamphlets, so hardly anyone turned up.
But there are people who do acknowledge the snap. And those people don't know how alphabetical order works.
Most people have the IQ of a carrot.
And then he finds out that people think he disappeared too. I mean, he did, but not in the way they think. So he runs over to let his family know that he's not dead.
Dead? Yeah, no, I'm not.
When he gets there, we see that Cassie's all grown up, and that's it. He just heads to New York to the Avengers facility, where Natasha's acting as McFlurry, but able to eat diagonal sandwiches.
Agent Romanoff is comfortable with everything.
So Nebula and Rocket are now best friends, and patrolling space for the Avengers. And Carol's up there too, but she doesn't hang out with them.
I just never liked you.
The ones still on Earth aren't really doing as much as they used to. Okoye's doing some amateur seismology, and Rhodey's out looking for Barton.
There's a part of me that doesn't even want to find him.
Rhodey tells her that he's tracked Barton down and that he's turned to killing gang members for fun.
Well, what about everybody else?
Well, they all retired since Thanos apparently snapped away all the major threats.
Maybe I should take a page out of Barton's book. Build Pepper a farm. Hope nobody blows it up.
Hasn't he retired like 4 times?
Yeah, but I guess he didn't get bored this time.
What's new with composting?
But Cap does visit them occasionally when he's not busy giving people advice that he doesn't actually believe himself.
Hypocrite!
See, he started a group that helps people get over their loved ones, but he's been obsessed with Peggy since World War II. I mean, he did try to nail her niece once, but he still shouldn't be a good example for moving on. Although he does get some of these people to start new relationships.
I'm seeing them again tomorrow.
But while he is visiting, Scott shows up in Luis's crappy brown van. I guess he replaced the battery, but we see that he's got a complex that people aren't going to remember him.
In Germany, I was the guy that got really big. I had a mask on.
But he's got an idea to build a time machine. They go to see Tony, who thinks there isn't a chance, without even considering the research or the equipment that Hank's already built. So he's out, but they go to see Professor Hulk, who's totally in.
Professor Hulk?
I put the brains and the brawn together.
I think I liked you better either of the other way.
So later on, after looking at a picture of Peter Parker,
Please, no gang signs.
Tony decides to do a few experiments on time travel.
I almost had this 20 years ago when I was drunk. I think I can...
And he pretty much figures it out right away.
Time travel!
He tells Pepper that he did it, and she's like, yeah, that sounds about right. And it's a good thing he figured it out, because the Avengers are failing.
It's baby.
It's Scott.
As a baby.
He'll grow.
So Tony wants to make sure that nothing in his family changes. So he'll help as long as they just bring the dusted people back to right now. And no one seems to figure out that some people's lives might get really awkward.
Who is this woman?
Calm yourself, my dear. I gotta see it.
This isn't what it looks like.
Well, that sounds like a lot of paperwork.
Because we didn't think of it?
My fault.
So he gives Cap his shield back.
He made it for you.
So they have to call everybody back to base just so they can go recruit some of the old Avengers because apparently they don't have phones.
No, I don't have a phone, but you could have sent an electronic letter. It's called an email.
So Rocket and Hulk have to go to New Asgard to get Thor. And apparently he's not taking his loss to Thanos very well at all.
Well, how bad could it be?
Well, he has Valkyrie running everything while he gets drunk and plays video games all day. And he can't even stand for anybody to say the name Thanos.
We do not speak his name.
Well, Natasha also tracked down Clint, and she's nice enough to let him finish what he's doing before she gives him a guilt trip on how he shouldn't be doing it.
Hey man, make love, not war.
So now they have a complete team to get the stones, and luckily, they know where and when they all are, and divide up into teams to go get them.
See you on the other side, man.
Cap, Hulk, Ant-Man, and Iron Man go to the Battle of New York because 3 of the stones are there in 2012. So Hulk goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum, where the Chitauri just seem to go away when he gets there. He tells the Ancient One that he needs the Time Stone, and
I don't have time to debate.
but he actually has 11 years to get it from her.
There's never enough time.
Rocket and Thor arrive on Asgard, where Thor sees his mom and wants to give up.
If she knew, she would freak out.
Rhodey and Nebula get to Morag, along with Hawkeye and Black Widow, who they send off to Vormir. Unfortunately, the Nebula of this time is picking up the Wi-Fi signal of future Nebula, and Thanos sees that she's going to betray him. And of course, this happens right after she says she would never betray him.
I would never betray you. No, I won't.
You know, you'd think an evil supervillain would learn how to properly lie.
Tony sneaks into Stark Tower with Ant-Man to get the Tesseract. And it's a good thing he got a lot of practice with Nebula 5 years ago, because he flicks him perfectly onto the briefcase.
Bingo!
All right.
Jasper Sitwell's on the phone with Secretary Pierce, hangs up, and then Cap gets on the elevator and says that Pierce wants him to take the scepter. And Sitwell doesn't buy this at all until Cap says,
Hail Hydra.
and then he's like, you know, it might have been possible that Pierce called him in the 2.2 seconds it takes for that elevator to open. And since he said he's running point on the scepter, that apparently means the rest of them can just go to lunch.
Yeah, you seem pretty helpless without me.
Ant-Man shrinks down and gives 2012 Tony a heart attack.
My left arm is numb. Is that normal?
Once he goes down, no one but future Tony and Loki keep an eye on the case that everyone's just been fighting over.
Give it back, it's mine!
Future Tony goes to leave with the case, but gets stopped.
I just got hit in the head with the Hulk.
And Loki grabs the Tesseract and goes, someplace.
It's a place. We've been there. It sucks.
And then we find out that Thor's hammer really is a defibrillator.
I knew it.
Cap bumps into his younger self,
Oh, you gotta be shitting me.
Language.
thinks that he's Loki, and wants to get the scepter back from him.
But the same matter can't occupy the same space.
Not exactly.
Time Cop's a bunch of bullshit.
So they fight, and younger Cap is about to win, so he tells him that Bucky's still alive, and then he uses the scepter on him that apparently just makes you sleepy now.
Is he asleep?
No. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
So Bruce talks to the Ancient One, and they decide that as long as he brings back the stones to the exact moment they were taken, it's totally cool for him to have the Time Stone.
You promised to bring that back in one piece.
Thanos scans Nebula to see that the future Nebula is on Morag, and then he watches her memories to find out what the Avengers are planning.
It's a conspiracy against my success.
Thor's mom sneaks up on him and tells him that she knows he's from the future. Not sure how she figured that one out, though.
You got fat.
It's a little bit harsh.
He then gets a pep talk from her and finds out he's still worthy.
I'm still worthy.
Jane then wakes up from a nap and gets attacked by a raccoon. Rocket extracts the goo from her, and they need to leave before the guards get them.
Well, how did he get it out of her?
A syringe?
But they had a whole story where they couldn't get the goo out of her.
Shut up. Maybe they don't have syringes on Asgard.
Her world has its healers they call doctors. Let them deal with it.
But anyway, they rush out of there because the guards are after Rocket, even though he's with the Queen and the Prince now. So back on Morag, Quill shows up to the Temple of the Power Stone, and they make fun of him, just to turn around and knock him out.
Boom. You looking for this?
And go to get the Power Stone. They go to leave, but because Thanos is watching future home videos, she doesn't hit her return button and stays behind to get captured. Now she does try to warn Barton, but she stupidly doesn't hit her return button before they grab her. And now they not only have her, but they also have a Pym particle.
You became obsessed with recreating my formula.
Tony and Scott meet back up with Steve, and they send Scott back to the future, but Tony and Steve go back to the 70s to get the Tesseract and more Pym particles. After Tony gets the Tesseract, he bumps into his dad on the way out, and we find out that he's hoping his wife is having a girl, which might explain why they never got along.
He never told me he loved me, he never even told me he liked me.
But they do have a nice heart-to-heart about being fathers, giving him closure on their relationship.
Have we ever met that guy?
So after stealing some more Pym particles, Steve's being chased by military police, and just happens to duck into Peggy's office, where he finds out that she's still obsessed with him too.
Don't you think I'm sort of beautiful?
We then get a Vormir, where Clint and Natasha park really far away from the mountain instead of just landing on it, and then climb all the way to the top, only to discover that one of them has to die.
That's rotten, that.
And it's a really good thing they sent two people who cared about each other to go there. But you have to wonder why they would send the two weakest people to the place they know the least about, even though it was described as a dominion of death.
Not a great plan.
So Clint and Natasha argue about who's going to sacrifice themselves when they're actually supposed to sacrifice the other person. Would have been really shitty if she died and Clint didn't get it, because she made the sacrifice.
So it doesn't count.
So they all get back to the present and make their own Infinity Gauntlet. They go to snap everyone back into existence, right as past Nebula brings past Thanos into the present. But at least we know the snap worked, because Clint's wife immediately calls him. But it's really weird that he's been paying her cell phone bill this whole time.
She passed away a few years ago. Even pay her phone bill.
But their victory is very short when Thanos bombs the building. So Clint finds the glove and takes off running from Thanos' army.
I knew I should have stretched.
Past Nebula meets up with Thanos, where he tells her to find the glove, while he just sits on his ass.
I'm confused. I thought that was your job.
The big three Avengers see him lounging around and decide to kill him, but not before Thor gets a makeover.
Oh, I always wear this. This is one of my favorites.
This Thanos sees that his plan sucks, so now he wants to kill everyone and start with brand new people altogether.
I believe the most likely outcome will be our collective demise.
Barton gives the gauntlet to past Nebula, and she reveals herself to be a bad guy.
I was acting.
But future Nebula convinced past Gamora to betray Thanos, and they try to convince past Nebula to jump ship too, but she's not buying it, even though that she's seen that she ends up betraying him in the future, and is even there when he's killed by the team she's on, so they just kill her.
Yeah, I'll be missed.
Iron Man, Cap, and Thor are ganging up on Thanos, but he's really fighting back. He knocks out Tony and is just about to plunge Stormbreaker into Thor's chest, but then Thanos gets hit in the head with Mjolnir, and then it heads back to the hand of Captain America.
Big hero moment.
So he's worthy?
I guess so. But as badass as this is, you have to admit, it's a weird time to do this. He had a choice to throw the shield at him that he's thrown 1 billion times, but instead tries to use a hammer that he's never even been able to pick up seconds before his friend is about to be killed. But somehow, he knows exactly how to use it. I mean, he can swing it like an old lady with a purse, he can even summon lightning right away.
It seems to run on some form of electricity.
But Thanos still pummels him, and then summons his army. But Cap gets up
Sorry. Force of habit.
and stares down the army like, alright, let's do this.
You don't give up, do you? Nope.
Out of nowhere, he hears his buddy Sam on the radio. But then T'Challa, who he barely knows, comes out of the portal for some reason. And he's like, dude, you have no idea how happy I am to see you. Do you see this shit?
You seem to be doing alright so far.
And then all the people who got snapped away show up and make sure to take off their masks so we know they're back.
I know you.
I know you too. You're great.
And while all these people are coming through the wizard portals, Thanos' army just stands there with their thumbs up their butts.
I didn't want to steal your thunder.
So after we establish that everybody we lost in the snap is back, and not just the heroes we know, but a whole bunch of spaceships and wizards, and they all gather together, and then Cap says,
Avengers!
Assemble.
Always so dramatic.
Which is really weird because they're already together, so shouldn't he say something like charge or attack or some shit like that?
We need a plan of attack!
I have a plan. Attack.
Well, looks like we're improvising.
The plan is to get the stones back where they got them, but Thanos destroyed the building.
That wasn't our only time machine.
So they need to get to the tunnel in the back of Luis's crappy brown van that was apparently parked in the auxiliary lot.
We're on it, Cap.
So Ant-Man and Wasp go to get the tunnel ready. But when they get there, the van won't start. I guess Scott didn't get the new battery after all, so he has to hotwire it. Except, that's not how batteries work.
What's questionable about electricity?
Hotwiring is something you do to the starter, like when you forgot your keys or trying to steal it. But Scott just may not know that.
He is a criminal.
But once they have it ready, they can try to get the glove there. Assuming that Ant-Man still has his time tracker, and Hope brought more Pym particles. But with all this stuff going on, you have to wonder why nobody asked a wizard to teleport them over there.
And let's worry about how you get there.
So there's a long way to go to get to it. But luckily the road is paved with tons of callback moments.
Grit! Give it to me.
Well, Wanda is pissed that he made her kill Vision, so she's beating the shit out of him, to the point that the only way to save himself is to have the ships open fire on the battlefield. While this is going on, Peter Parker finally gets to play football.
And yeah, I would love to play football.
Except, he's the ball.
Brian McLeod down just 3 yards from the goal line. What a brilliant tackle, and the fans go wild.
So right as he really gets into trouble, the army turns all their guns from the ground to the sky.
If only it were that easy.
Captain Marvel flies in through the clouds and right into their ship, but I'm not really sure how they knew she was going to be that big of a threat.
Who's the fancy broad?
I am a fierce warrior.
Did you hear what I said?
I never thought she'd be able to do it, with as weak and skinny as she appears to be.
So she gets to Spider-Man, and he questions how she can get to the van, right after she just flew through a spaceship with her person.
It ought to be me really going.
Why?
Well, and you're,
We can discuss sexism and survival situations when I get back.
But then all the girls show up to the same spot to help Carol.
You don't need to do that.
But this also doubles as a middle finger to people who don't like female superheroes.
Why didn't we think of this before? Oh, because it's laughable?
But since she just flies through the army, they're kind of just there for show.
Even little Timmy is doing his part. Nice work, Timmy.
I mean, seriously, she can do this.
Take control. You're a strong, independent woman. I am.
Thanos even realizes she's gonna make it, so he just blows up the van. She drops the glove, and Thanos picks it up and puts it on.
That was terrible. Now you have a chance to win.
Captain Marvel grabs the glove and is more capable of holding him back by herself than all the superheroes that were on Titan.
That was close.
So Thanos decides to cheat and use the Power Stone to knock her out.
And you've won. Congratulations. Fair game.
So Doctor Strange lets Tony know that this is the one chance they have to win. And Tony's like, are you kidding me? This is some bullshit.
It'd be great if we had a Hulk right about now. Any shot?
Tony goes to stop him from snapping, but gets pushed to the side. Thanos then snaps his fingers, but nothing happens.
This usually works. Well, performance issues, it's not uncommon.
See, you get this huge surge of power when you get the stones, but don't even notice when you lose them. And apparently while Tony was holding his hand open, he was taking the stones off his glove and putting them on his.
Shake that, don't pull it. Yeah, he did drop the odd pearl.
He then snaps his fingers, and Thanos and his army dust away.
I know what it's like to lose.
It's frightening. Turns the legs to jelly.
Unfortunately, the power surge was too much for Tony.
I'm fine. Totally fine.
Mommy told me to come and save you.
Good job. I'm saved.
But he has just enough energy to say goodbye to Rhodey, Peter, and Pepper before he dies.
Are you crying?
Oh, boo-hoo-hoo!
Everybody's got dead people.
Everyone then goes back to their lives to see their families, and then they all gather back at Tony's lake house for his funeral. Even that weird kid from Tennessee.
Because we're connected.
And General Ross, who I can only assume tried to arrest most of them after.
The world's on fire. And you think all's forgiven?
Thor goes to New Asgard and hands the throne over to Valkyrie, and then flies off with the Guardians.
I always keep my promises when they're the muscle-bound whack jobs will kill me if I don't.
Steve then heads off to return the stones where they belong. But I'm not sure how he's supposed to do that when he doesn't have the scepter, the tesseract, the orb, or anything to turn the reality stone back into goo.
It's more of a kind of an angry sludge sort of a thing, so someone's gonna need to amend that and stop saying that.
Won't it be weird for him to see Red Skull again?
Well, not as weird as him trying to re-inject Jane with the red goo.
You had this in your body?
So he goes into the portal, and he's supposed to come back in 5 seconds, but he doesn't come back. But Bucky turns around to see an old fart on a bench. It's Cap, and apparently Bucky doesn't want to talk to him, so he sends Sam over, who he tells he stayed behind to be normal. And then he turns his shield over to him.
I want you to take her. I mean it. Take her. You need all the help you can get.
All right, old buddy. No, I know what she means. I'll take good care of her. She won't get a scratch.
He then tells Sam that he won't tell him anything about his wife, because something should be personal.
Captain America! Fuck!
That is America's ass.
The last 5 years I've been trying to do one thing, get to right here. That's all it's been about.
Hitting that subscribe button.
You're a pain in my ass, you know that.
Go to bed, or I'll sell all your toys.
Goodbye.